Okay, guys, so it's me once again. I'd like to take this advantage of recording this discussion that I was supposed to be giving you on Saturday, and I hope you could watch this in advance so that we could fast track our activities, our discussion, our learning, and so that we could focus on certain clarifications, okay, regarding your output. Okay, so for this afternoon, I'm actually going to record the continuation of our discussion on um, disabilities and inclusive education. Okay, so I asked you earlier for you to focus on page 50 onwards, okay, because it is all about inclusive education. Now, I would like to share to you now the PowerPoint that I was saying earlier, no? So, okay, sorry pala, not disability, but diversity, okay? Diversity and inclusion, okay? So, yan, dito tayo magsisimula ngayon, okay? Okay, so I hope everything is clear. My other earplugs is not functioning well, so this is the only thing I got. Okay, so we've been talking about yun nga, no, yung ano ba yung mga how we can determine or how we can identify the disabilities, ano ba yung mga yon, and we said that disability is not just limited to physical disability or mental disability, no? By the very nature of their being different from others, okay, that makes them, in a sense, no, disability, and therefore should be part of inclusive education. So, kumbaga, yung inclusive education, hindi lang niya nililimit, okay? Hindi lang dun siya nagpo-focus sa tawag ito, doon sa kung may pilay or may kapansanan or something like that, no? So yung karanasan din ng tao, no, yung kahit yung kulay, no, kahit yung simpleng kakaiba niya, no, eh kumbaga isinasama na rin sa inclusive education. Okay? Although syempre yung mga ganung simpleng bagay gaya ng race or sexual preferences or yung even the color or the size of the body, no, hindi na rin yun eh, no? Pero, kumbaga, syempre, ramdam din to, no? We are in an environment of learning and we should always, kumbaga, exude or show positive environment always, no? In any learning environment. Okay? Kaya, sinama na rin siya sa inclusive education. Okay. So, what is actually inclusive education? Okay? Sinasabi nga natin, di ba, yung disability or yung ability ng ibang tao or yung pagiging diverse ng ibang tao should be taken with acceptance. Okay? Should be taken with acceptance. Okay? And respect. Okay? Kaya nga, inclusion is reaching out, no, to all learners, no, in whatever status, physical status or challenges or mental challenges that one person has, no, we should reach out to them. Okay, we should be able to address different kinds of diversity, no, so that regardless whether children or in your case you would like to be in the industry, for example, and eventually you will be trainers. Okay, you should be able to exude positive attitude, no? You should be able to show positive attitude by being accepting, no? Tolerant, no? Kung ano man yung kapansanan nila. And kumbaga, hindi mo lang siya tatanggapin, sige, okay lang yan. Hindi, yung pagiging okay lang, no? Yung defining ng okay lang, no? Should be taken into a lot of concrete actions, no? Remember the short film that I've shown you, no? Yung si Maria, di ba? Hindi niya lang tinanggap yung friend niya na pilay, no, or may kapansanan, no, or doon lang sa wheelchair, pero gumagawa siya ng mga bagay-bagay na ikakaayos, no, na may baga, no, nag-reach out, no, yung sign of reaching out, no, nandoon, okay? Kaya nga, may ina-address kang bagay na ikaw mismo yung gumagawa. Hindi mo lang siya basta tinatanggap. No? Yung pagtanggap mo, kaakibat noon, meron kang ginagawang action. Yun yung sinasabing inclusion. Okay, it involves changes and modification in content, approaches, structures, and strategies. At this point, no, yung changes, hindi mo yung expectations, kumbaga, no, yung expectations siguro, no, ika-clarify ko lang, involves changes, no, yung expectations mo siguro doon sa isang estudyante na kasama doon sa inclusion, no, yun ang nagbabago, yung expectation mo. Pero yung expected output ng isang bata, okay, or ng tinitrain mo, no, dapat maipakita niya. Kung somehow sa level ng iyong sinet ay katanggap-tanggap, no, then yun yung changes. Hindi yung for sort of ordinary students, no, ordinary trainees, no, ganito yung expectation mo sa kanila kasi nga in a sense normal sila, no. O kaya yung talagang wala naman silang disability or whatnot, di ba? So kumbaga ito yung expectation mo sa kanila. Dito naman sa kasama doon sa inclusive education, no? Andito lang yung expectation mo. So yun yung changes na sinasabi dito. Okay? Yun yung changes na sinasabi. Hindi yung ito yung ina-expect mo sa kanila, no? Ito yung ina-expect mo sa lesson na to. Okay? Dahil may kapansanan siya, ay hindi niya na pwedeng kunin to. Hindi yun. Hindi yun ang pagbabago. Okay? Changes of expectations. Okay? Ililimit mo lang, no, doon sa tawag nito, doon sa kakayanan niya. For example, yung meron kaming estudyante na hunchback. Okay, kuba siya, no? Tapos, syempre, medyo may rin siya, heart problem siya, no? So, ang subject is PE. Okay? So, ano ang babaguhin? Hindi mo pwedeng baguhin yung certain, hindi ba, yung course intended learning outcome, no? Yung expected intended learning outcome, dapat yun pa din. Okay? Pero ang babaguhin mo dito, usually, ang babaguhin mo is yung expectation mo. Imo-modify mo yung content, okay? Na naayon doon sa kakayanan niya. Okay? Hindi mo totally babaguhin yung approach mo. Okay? Yung approach mo, yung structures and strategies mo, hindi mo ipaparehas doon sa karamihan noong mga kaklase niya. Okay? Yun ang sinasabing inclusion. Okay? So, okay. Next slide. Okay. The understanding of inclusion in education has transcended the assumption that inclusion is about students with special needs. Okay, it concerns the inclusion of all children, or in your case, all trainees. Okay, so you have to, kumbaga, hindi lang dun sa may special na pangangailangan, pero yung, kumbaga, yung speciality na tinatawag nung na yun, no? Na sitwasyon na yun, yun yung imo-modify mo, no? Kumbaga, nag-level up na siya, no? Okay. So main factors in inclusive education, okay, if handled appropriately, learners with special educational needs will gain academically and socially and will improve self-esteem, will gain academic or social improvement, okay? And therefore, self-esteem, okay? Hindi sila left out, di ba? Kaya nga, di ba, yung unang principles, no student should be left behind. Other learners will gain appreciation of diversity in society, di ba? Yung ma-appreciate nila yung pagkakaiba-iba. Kung mapapansin niyo dati, nauuso bagay yung mga racist na tinatawag o yung mga prejudice na tinatawag, di ba? Kung napapanood yung naranasan ng mga black people, no? Yung African American people, no, maraming movies na ganyan, di ba? Na nasa-segregate sila, di ba? May mga CR na pang may mga CR na pang puti lang, okay? Tapos usually daw yung mga black people nasa likod lang parati sila ng bus, no? So kumaga nakakababa ng moralidad ng isang tao. But ngayon, no, because of diversity in society, because of the acceptance, no, and tolerance of people about different types of people, no, regardless of being of their uniqueness, okay, nagkakaroon ng appreciation ng diversity as a whole. Okay? Greater recognition of social justice and equality and more caring attitude. Okay? So you care not because you have the same color, you have the same, you work, you study in the same school, no? You go to, you hang out with the same place or whatever, di ba? Pero, kumbaga, you care to people, you care to human race, regardless of color, etc., regardless of ethnicity or tinatawag nating diversity. So yun yung main factor kung bakit kailangan ng inclusive na nagsisimula sa educational setup. Okay? Sometimes kasi, minsan kasi sa pamilya may bias tayo di ba? May mga bias tayo sa pamilya, lalong-lalo na kapag sa family ko, no, sad to say, merong mga ganyan meron ako na experience sabihin, ay, parati ko narinig na expression sa aking sa mga nakakatanda dati, no, na, ay, nako, sadyaan at mga ganitong pasensya na, no, Pampangan yan, Buano yan, Bisaya yan, mga ganito yan, Muslim yan, or whatever, di ba? Yung mga term na gano'n, no? Mga term na gano'n, nagkakaroon ng social inequality or social injustice. But because of diversity, no, in school, na kung sa school mismo, tinuturuan sila na ganito, na ganyan, di ba? So, nagkakaroon sila ng ibang pananaw at nasa sa kanila na yun, kung tatanggapin nila, pero nilalagay sa isang konteksto na pwede at katanggap-tanggap at we have that caring attitude, no? Yun yung trabaho ng eskwelahan. Kaya, inclusive education. Okay. Inclusive education is more economically viable. The expense involved in transporting and accommodating learners with special schools, especially in rural areas. No? So, economical viable kasi kumbaga hindi mo sila sineseparate. Okay? Ito for inclusive, ito for people with, kumbaga kung pilay lang, separate mo na, di ba? Pwede silang masama. Sometimes nga, di ba, yung ibang medyo manageable, yung kanilang mental disability, tinatanggap na, no? Tinatanggap na sa regular school. Pero yung talagang hindi mo ma-manage in a regular environment, okay, yon siguro kailangan. Or, posible din na ilagay sa normal environment, provided merong mga certain rules or certain requirements that a particular school should be able to meet. Okay? So, yun. Regardless kung nasang lugar man siya ng Pilipinas. Okay? So, yeah. So, here is a model, okay, of inclusive education. So, papansinin nyo on top, no, education system has full responsibility to ensure right to education. Remember our very first discussion, okay? Yung right, no, yung law, okay, became a law, became a right of an individual, and so therefore inatasan yung educational system, DepEd, CHED, TESDA even, no, they should follow this, no? Their school should be inclusive, okay? They have the full responsibility to ensure right to education. Okay? So may assessment, may support system. Ito yung sabi ko kanina na may mga schools na dapat kailangan ng support system or may mga sitwasyon na kailangan ng support system. Kung mentally challenged talaga, no? At gustong at pwedeng ilagay sa isang normal environment, okay man din yan. Provided mayroong sometimes may nurse, okay, may psychologist or occupational therapist, mga ganyan, no? May mga certain requirements. Or, support system, pilay, siyempre dapat parating yung physical structure ng school, no? So, titingnan niya, no? It is their responsibility. And of course, yung assessment, yung ability of that student, that particular student who is considered, no? In an inclusive education. Is equipped and ready to handle diversity through a flexible modified curriculum. Okay? So, flexible modified curriculum. Kung napapansin, ano ba yung ibig sabihin ng flexible modified curriculum? Diba narinig niyo ito ngayon na tinatawag na flexible learning. Okay? Sabi nga ko nga sa inyo, no? Dito sa school where I am teaching right now, I don't know, in other schools na rin yata, no? In other state universities and colleges, no? Hindi kami pwedeng magbagsak ngayon. Okay? Hindi pwede kaming magbagsak, no? At best, okay? At best, incomplete. Okay? And they have until one semester to accomplish that INC for that to be removed in their permanent record. Otherwise, hindi ibig sabihin na 5 na siya, no? Pwede niya pang ika-accomplish yun, no? For another 5 months. Pero yung INC mawawala na. So, yun yung flexible. Yun yung flexibility. Here, ang sinasabi dito, flexible modified curriculum. There is a curriculum, may sinusunod tayo, katulad ng subject nyo ngayon, itong requirement niyo, that's your curriculum, okay? Yan yung guide niyo para makagraduate kayo sa subject na ito, okay? Pero doon, dahil mayroong mga, tawag ito, mayroong mga estudyante na kasama sa inclusive education at ang eskwelahan ninyo ay inclusive education, okay? Or, tawag ito, ano ba term yun? Sorry. I forgot the word, no? Compliance, sorry. Inclusive education compliance sila, no? So, imo-modify nila yung curriculum. Sabi ko nga kanina, ng modification, no? Hindi siya change, no? Although sinabi din kanina, inclusive is a change, no? Yung change of standard, okay? Modify mo yung ano yung gagawin niya, pero hit pa din doon sa kanyang expected output or expected learning output, okay? So, teaching and learning methods, no? Yung method mo for general students, okay lang yun, di ba? Katulad ng ginagawa namin ngayon, no? We are assuming na pare-pareho kayo ng level of learning, okay? Or ng capability to learn, okay? So, but because it is inclusive education, no? So, yung method dapat ng teacher, babaguhin niya, no? Or imo-modify niya, no? Magkakaroon siya ng adaption. Mag-a-adapt siya, no? A-accept niya, no? A-accept niya, i-adapt niya yung idea, certain idea, in order for that particular person, no, or that particular student who is in the inclusive program, okay, so that he can learn, no? Or he or she can learn, okay? Augmentation. Changes, no? I-augment mo ng konti yung mga pwede naman siguro okay, i-let go na lang, okay? Okay, kasi kumbaga hindi naman din ganun hindi siya ganun ka affected, no? Or wala masyadong impact. Kunyari, for example, ito yung kailangan yung aralan, no? 10 lessons ang kailangan yung aralan. Pero merong isang subject dyan na pwede nyo namang i-let go para sa kanya. But at the same time, ma-considered pa din siya, no? So, alteration. Alteration, kung ang pinay-exam ko, for example, sa PE, tatakbo siya. So, siguro sa kanya, magawa na lang siya ng kung anong kaya niyang physical activity. Okay? Anything that would somehow, no, meet, for example, expectation of physical activity. Kunyari, PE yung subject, no? Or whichever case may be. So, yun yung sinasabi, no? Another one is remediation or enrichment. What is remediation? Okay? Remediation is you remedy something. Okay? Hindi naman totally nasira. Okay? Hindi na ito, kumbaga, meron sa subject sa remediation of instructions in English. Okay? Remediation of instruction in math. Okay? So, mga ganyan. No? So, itong remediation na to, no? So, parang, particularly, no, in an English subject, no, meron sila yan sa elementary na tinatawag na remediation classes. Ano itong mga remediation classes? Ito yung mga tinatawag na ina-address yung problema noong mga estudyante na grade 4, 5, 6 na, hindi pa rin o hirap pa rin magbasa. Okay? So, kailangan niyang tawag nito, kailangan niyang magkaroon ng remediation para yung level niya sa grade 4 or grade 5 or grade 6, no, magtugma doon sa level nung lahat, no, nung nakararami. particularly in reading, no? Doon sa sinasabi kong sitwasyon sa elementary about instructions in English, no? So remediation. Now, enrichment. Ito naman yung mga hindi naman nahuhuli sa klase, no? Pero ito yung mga estudyante naman na kumbaga advanced naman. So sabi ko nga last time, di ba? Kasama pa rin sila, no? Sa inclusive education, dapat kino-consider mo pa rin yung mga talents nila, yung skills nila, so that kumbaga you would be able to enhance those talents nila or skills nila, and therefore meet expectations or learning. Di ba maraming mga estudyante o kahit yung mga tinitrain kayo, di ba? Minsan nga, na parang feeling nyo mas marunong pa sa inyo. Okay? Not because feeling nyo mas marunong pa sa inyo, precisely because mas marunong pa rin naman kasi talaga dahil medyo advanced yung utak nila. So the challenge for the teacher now is hindi naman pwedeng hayaan siya, di ba? O hindi naman pwedeng pagmalakihan ka niya, di ba? Dapat mag-ready ka. Na, o sige, advance ka naman pala. O sige, gawin mo to. Okay? So i-advance mo din siya. Enrichment, di ba? Involvement of peers, parents, and the community. Now, again, no, responsibilidad ng education, dapat yung eskwelahan ready and equipped, no, to handle diversity. At kasama dito ay yung involvement ng mga kaibigan, ng parents, at ng community. Okay, hindi pwedeng mawala yan. So sa lahat ng programa, okay, ng inclusive education, dapat meron ito. Involvement of peers, parents, and community. Okay? By involvement of peers ng mga kaklase, ng mga ganyan, no? Dapat nasa handbook din siguro din dapat ng estudyante, or parang di ba kayo, may student handbook kayo. Meron bang nakalagay doon na bullying or something, no? Anything about bullying, no? If a student was found bullying, no, to another student, no, meron bang kumbaga kakibat na parusa yan or sabihin or I don't know, no, penalty. Basta yun. Parents, very important yung parents, no? Kasi hindi naman pwede, sige, daling ko yan sa eskwela na yun, kayo nang bahala dyan. No. That's not going to work in an inclusive education. Always close contact with the teachers, with the parents, okay, and the community. So kumbaga yung community, dapat may programa din sa community that would support the school's intention for inclusive education. Okay? So, it is equipped and ready to handle diversity through all of this, and then flexible teaching methods with innovative approaches to teaching, aids, and the equipment, assistive devices, and learning process. So, yun, no? Flexible teaching method, no? Hindi pwedeng sabihin nyo, ay, nako, itong ginagawa namin dito eh. So, kung hindi mo kaya, hindi umalis ka na lang. Hindi pwede yung ganun. You have to accept them. They have to be accepted. Okay? So, ay, colorblind ka eh. Diba? Paano yan? Hindi kayo pwede. Wala kaming capability na maturuan ka, no? Para mamili ng kulay, no? Parang gano'n. Or tingnan, importante sa automotive, dapat alam mo yung mga kulay-kulay na ganyan, di ba? So, yun, no? Dito papasok yung involvement ng parents and the community. Okay? So, dapat meron yan, no? Hindi pwedeng, no. And then, responsive, child-friendly environment. So, responsive, child-friendly environment. Hindi ito hindi ito binibaby. Okay? Hindi ito spoon feeding. Okay? This is just simply addressing, okay, they're being diverse that would require them to still, kumbaga, attain or get education, okay, in a normal environment. Okay? Although their situation is not normal, okay, but still, you have to create a certain kind of environment that is responsive and friendly, okay, to their situation. Okay? Magkaiba yung ini-spoiled. Okay? as against dun sa being responsive to the need. Okay, you just simply address the need. Okay, yun nga, no? Sabi nga ni Paul, ay sir, hindi pwedeng colorblind kapag nag-automotive. Pero may na-research si Gerard, sabi niya, tawag nito, meron na daw mga glasses, no? That can, address color blindness. So dapat ang school or kung sino man ang pwede mag-provide yung bata para makapag-aral siya. Okay? But other than that, no, kung mata lang ang problema niya o colorblind siya, edi yun ang i-address, di ba? Yun yung nagiging responsive yung environment. Pero hindi ibig sabihin, hindi na siya bigyan siya ng special treatment or whatnot, no? Hindi naman yun. Iba yun. Okay? Professional environment working deliberately and actively to promote inclusive or inclusion for all. So, professional environment working deliberately and actively to promote inclusion for all education. So, when you talk about professional environment, okay, we're not just talking about, yung sa classroom lang, no? The entire environment as well, no? So, from the janitor up to the rector, dapat accepted yung tao na yun. Okay, na ganun yung, wala kang maririnig na kung ano-ano na sa kanya, di ba? I think, in a sense, no, ang Don Bosco, naging inclusive, kumbaga, they're tolerating they're practicing inclusive education kasi nga, kahit nga all-boys school, pero hindi nila dinidisregard yung mga bakla, di ba? So, kumbaga, sabi nga, nagiging katawa-tawa na or nagiging joke na nga sa ibang school, Don Bosco schools na all-boys school pa rin na co-ed na sila dahil nga sa dami ng bakla sa kanila, no? Parang nahati na, no? So, parang gano'n, no? But, kumbaga, walang tuksuhan, no? Walang tuksuhan na, ganyan, maling yan, or ganito, ganyan yan, no? Open for all, no? Professional yung environment. Hindi pwedeng sa classroom lang, no? Tapos paglabas, yung guard, tinutokso yung estudyante. O kaya yung janitor, tinutokso yung estudyante. O worse, baka mamaya ginagawang katawa-tawa pag nagsisermon si padre, no? Hindi yun professional environment. Okay, so that is a model where school should be able to follow or to think of, no, so that they could be considered as compliant to inclusive education. So go back, no, to your situation, no, there in Don Bosco, no. Is it inclusive education? Is it practicing inclusive education? Go back to your questions, no. Go back to your observation, no. Are they practicing? Is the school, is your institution practicing inclusive education with this model, no? So ito hindi lang ito gawa-gawa, no? Pinag-aralan ito ng eskwelahan, ng department, no? CHED included, no? So that this process of inclusion should be implemented, no? So yan, types of inclusion nga daw, So may mga may mga plans na So basically itong model na to just simply describes kung anong level o anong plano ang dapat ma-implement para ma-address yung certain diversity, no, ng isang estudyante. Okay, so yeah. So types of learners enrolled in the regular program of the public or private schools. Okay? So may kapansanan siya, pero enrolled siya sa regular program. Teacher in that program have failed in teaching them to such a degree. Okay? So may mga teachers na kumbaga nasa programa nga, no? Pero yun, parang hindi nila na-address yung inclusion, no? Siguro yung hindi nila ma-i-adjust yung kanilang exams o yung kanilang curriculum o yung kanilang strategies, no? So that's an issue, no? Special supplemental instruction materials and equipment have been made available to teachers Okay. So yeah, provide consultative services to regular teachers who work with them and special. So, kumbaga, meron naman na teachers, pero, may, yung part ng program nila is merong support din, no? Instructional materials and equipment, no, for teachers. Okay, available for teachers and for meron silang consultation na ginagawa. Meron kasing mga teachers na lalo-lalo na pag mental disability ang pinag-uusapan or mental challenges ang pinag-uusapan, ay, yung mga regular graduates ng teaching, okay, or ng education, hindi kasi ganoon ka kadali yung magturo ng mga may mental challenges, no? So kumbaga, yung mga learners kailangan din na mayroong ding special teachers that would support, no? Kumbaga, para teachers ang tinatawag nila doon, no? Parang shadow ng teacher na yan. Their particular presence, okay, is made available for those students who have disabilities, okay, or diversity. Okay, so yung type 2 naman is regular teachers have failed in teaching them to such a degree. Okay, so yung talagang totally hindi sila naturuan, so sila yung kailangan din turuan in a special class, no? So yung kanina, teacher in the program have failed in teaching them to such a degree. So may programa man, no? Enroll sila sa regular classes, pero hindi man sila maturuan dahil nga hindi naman capable si teacher. Kaya nandun sila, no? Kasama sila dun sa type 1, no? Pero meron namang support, okay? Yung type 2 naman, regular teachers have failed to teach them to that degree. They receive direct instructions from one or more special educators, okay? Though they continue to receive part of education instructions in the regular program school, may be enrolled in either regular or special class. No? So may option naman sila na pwede silang mamili. Yung isa kanina, no, for regular, regular program. Ang support, pumapasok na lang. O manageable pa, no? Now, receives no academic instruction. Ito yung mga type 3 learners na hindi sila pwede sa regular program or hindi sila makapasok sa regular program, okay? Whether it's public or private schools and are self-contained. So, kumbaga, dun lang sila sa bahay nila, no? Yung tinatawag na may parang tutor particular for them. Are able to attend any type of day school program provided by the local system but are in a special boarding school. So, yeah, no? Yung mga types of learners. So, any of those, no? Still special learners. So, now, this is a very important question, which is going to be your concern when you do your case study. How do we make our school inclusive? Okay? So, madali kasi yung diversity nila, hindi masyadong affecting, no? For example, yung sexual preference, pagiging obese, no? Or unless otherwise, yung pagiging obese ng isang bata, disabling na, no? Mayroon mga kwento dyan na napapanood tayo na sobrang taba na niya, nakakasira na siya ng upuan. Okay, sobrang taba niya, hindi siya pwede makakit sa third floor or second floor. Okay, hindi siya pwede ng PE dahil nga sobrang taba na niya. So, ganyan, no? Pero yung mga diversity na problema lang niya ay kulay, problema lang niya ay preference niya, problema niya lang niya yung kulot siya or whatnot, di ba? Then again, no? We ask ourselves, no? Gaya nga ng mga questions ko yun. Yung school ba ninyo, particularly there in Don Bosco, is it inclusive education? Sa amin, dito sa Camarines Norte, sa main campus, pwede na kasi may mga pilay, no? May mga ramp kasi, no? Pero nakatawa naman sa ramp na yun, hanggang first floor lang. Okay? Walang ramp sa second floor. Okay? So, may mga buildings na bago, no? Pero, wala na nga ramp. On the first floor lang ang ramp, wala pang elevator. Okay? So, mga tipong ganyan. Yung CR, Meron naman na pang meron naman na pang disabled or yun, no? Pero maliit, no? O kaya yung size ng hindi nagtutugma. So, tapos may mga issues katulad for example sa college of education, no? Naging issue yan dahil nga kahit na nasa handbook na may may head kami sa school na pinipilit niya na bawal sa mga estudyante, sa babae, bawal ang mga nakapants. Okay? Bawal daw ang mga nakapants. Although nasa uniform ng mga bata na batang babae na nagtuturo ay na nag-aaral, pwedeng mag-pants sa ibang colleges. Pero diyan sa amin, sa College of Education, hindi daw. Kasi nga daw, dapat daw ang palda, or actually, skirt nga lang no? Yun, knee level, no? Skirt lang. Pero, kumbaga, tawag nito, yun daw yung para maging mahinhin ang teacher. Okay. So, yun, laking issue yan, no? Pag mga nakapantalo na, ang babae, hindi pinapapasok. Tapos nagkaroon din ng issue na yung mga long hair. Okay? Yung long hair na sobrang haba na, or naka-headba na, or nakatali. So, hindi yan pwede. Okay? So, yung mga issue na ganyan. No? So, somehow ngayon, na-resolve naman na, pero may may agam-agam pa rin. Kasi nandun pa rin yung isang leader na head ng school na College of Education na medyo conservative. No? Sa kanya kasi dapat pag teacher ka, proper ka, an example of perfection and all, di ba? Yung model na. May point man siguro siya. No? But, again, we're talking about inclusive education. Okay, we're not just talking about philosophy ng isang tao. No? We're talking about a law. We're talking about acceptance. We're talking about, kumbaga, responsiveness to the need of the society. Okay? So, again, paano nyo gagawin or how do you make your school inclusive? So, there's a model here again. No? So, producing inclusive policies, evolving inclusive practices, creating inclusive culture. That's a model of inclusive education for you to come up with an inclusive education. So titingnan nyo, you go back again to your questions or yung mga observations ninyo. No? Is it part of the policy of the school? Is it part of the practices of the school? Is the culture accepting of inclusive education? Okay? Now, ulitin na naman natin. Yung mga policies ba na established inclusive education? Yung mga practices ba na ginagawa inclusive education? Yung kultura ba mismo ng pedagogical system of Don Bosco, is that inclusive education? Again, yung pedagogical system of education ni Don Bosco, that's somehow rooted from an all-boys environment, no? During that time, no? Iba yung setup, no? Pero kunti-unti, di ba? Nag-adapt ang salisyan, no? To the signs of the time na tinatawag, no? Yung ano ba yung kailangan ng sitwasyon, no? Pwede yung pag-aralan yan. Yan yung titingnan ninyo, no? So dito sa sitwasyon natin, yung talagang gusto mong magturo, no? For example, si Joshua, no? Gusto niya talagang magturo, baka pwede niyang tingnan yung sitwasyon sa high school, no? Yung policies nila, no? Yung practices and yung culture nila, no? Kung yung mga policies, practices and culture nila within the principles of inclusive education. Okay? Tapos sa college naman, sa training environment naman, no? Sa, sa industries, no? Titingnan nyo, yung mga policies ba, or practices ba, or culture ba, compliant, no? Sa inclusive education or environment. Okay? Tignan nyo yan, no? Yung triangle na yan. So, yun yung dimension ng inclusive education. Kasi without, okay, bakit baga importante yung policies, practices, and cultures? Kasi it is supporting, it makes the triangle stand. Okay? Without policies, okay, without policies, ano yung ipapractice nila? Okay? And without all of these things, no, kung walang matinong baseline or foundation, okay, which is the culture, okay, of acceptance, okay, and love, no? Kung walang yung culture of acceptance and love for all types of students, no, regardless of diversity, okay, hindi tatayo ang policies mo at practices mo. Okay? So, yan. Dapat buo yan. Okay? Yung policies would balance, no, the practices. Okay? But all of these things should be founded by a certain culture of acceptance and love. Okay? Because I think, diba, I think very Salesian ang dating, no? Very Salesian. Although, titingnan ninyo, katulad nung issue na question ninyo, no, na-raise ninyo one time, no? Hindi sa akin ang galing yan, ha? Sa inyo ang galing yan. Observation niya yan. Okay? Which is a valid observation. Hindi ako Catholic. Tinanggap nila ako doon. Okay, pasado. Pero does that mean na dapat mag-simba din ako or push to me the idea of Catholicism? Something like that. Okay? Is that within the ideology of inclusive education? Okay? Pero sasabi nyo, gusto mo mag-aral dito, and so therefore, dapat you should be open to catechism. Okay? Otherwise, now, is that inclusive education? Okay? So, it's a critical, it's critical, it's something that is sensitive. Okay? So, for those of you, lalong-lalo na sa values education, no? Hey, Carl, no? If you will be considering this, no, you have to be very careful, no? Of, of the sensitivities of people, no? Okay? Consider niyo yung eskwelahan kung nasaan kayo. Okay? Although, syempre, karapatan ng school yun. Pero, again, we're talking about education for all. I am a Bosconian. Okay? I love the ideologies of Don Bosco. But, okay, but I am a Catholic. Okay? Pero, kumbaga, ibang usapan ito, no? Kung ako ang tatanungin ninyo. Okay? Matagal na rin naman ako nawala sa Don Bosco. So, tingnan natin, no? Magandang issue to, no? Magandang issue. Kung magagawa ng magandang case study, no? That is something na pwedeng magamit din siguro ng Don Bosco, okay, ng mga Salesians for revision probably of their policies or check nila, no? Titingnan nila yung kanilang policies. Okay? Kasi ito yung policy. They're accepting Catholics or non-Catholic students. Pero yung practice, okay, is that inclusive, no? So parang may nagtutugma, no? Hindi, parang kulang yung no? Hindi nagbabalance, no? Pananaw ko to, ha? Pananaw ko to. Okay? Kaya nga gagawa kayo ng case study about this kung gusto niyo yung idea na ito. Okay? Pero kung ako din naman, no? Sa akin lang. Gusto mong sumama sa pamilya ko. Diba? Tatanggapin kita sa pamilya ko. Okay? Pero meron akong rules and regulations. Okay? Parang ganyan lang din naman siguro yung idea. Am I being tolerant or am I being accepting? No? Kaya nga, case study. Okay? Inclusion in education involves valuing all students and staff equally. Sabi natin, di ba, yung Loden's will of diversity. Kakasama yon. Okay? So, accepting tayo. Regardless of their differences. Okay? And so, therefore, we value. Okay? Yung word na value. Okay? Very important in the practices, in the policies, and in the culture. Increasing the participation of students in and reducing their inclusion from the cultures, curricula, and communities of local schools. Okay? Increasing the participation of students in. So, syempre, pag hindi sila nag-attend ng math, edi, inaano nila yung sarili, nagkakaroon ng inclusion. Okay? Dapat, kasama sila doon. Kasi, parte ng ano eh. Di ba? Parte ng sistema ng ano, ng eskwelahan. Kung aalisin sila, edi hindi na inclusive ng education. I don't know. You find out. You do the case study. It's your assignment anyway. Restructuring the cultures, the policies and cultures in schools so that they respond to the diversity of the students in the locality. Responsive ba? I remember one time, tawag ito, galit na galit ang rector namin noon. Kasi ang tawag namin, may katabing, may malapit na iglesia ni Cristo dyan sa Don Bosco. Okay. Even before itayo yung church na yun, nalaman ng Don Bosco na magtatayo ng iglesia ni Cristo. After the iglesia ni Cristo, Mary Help of Christians, parish, right? So what the Salesians tried to do was they tried to buy the property, no, dun sa may-ari na i-donate niya, supposed to be sa iglesia. Kaya lang, siyempre, na ano sila yun. Siyempre, kami nun, ayaw namin yun. Siyempre, gusto namin solid, di ba? Solid yung family, no? Solid yung family ng Salesians, buong Sanlubang, Maya pa included. So, pero, siyempre, nangyari na yun. Pero, again, no, yung yung cultures, yung policies, no, yung diversity, nung locality, no, yung locality. These things happen, no? Pero, siyempre, we're talking about education, and hindi mawawala yan eh, no? Hindi mayaalis yan. Much as you wanted to try, no, to make it so sa inyo lang, no? Okay, exclusive pala. Exclusive sa inyo, yung area na yun. Siyempre, the Salesians can only do so much, no? So, yun. No? Kaya nga tawag nga namin doon. Ano yun? Disneyland, no? Kasi yung tsura nga nila parang Disneyland. Anyway. So, yun. Bakit ba ako napunta dyan? Yes, no? Yung responding to the needs of the locality. Well, kasi nga, sabi natin, first and foremost, a school, for it to be relevant, no, it has to respond to the needs of the immediate community. Okay? And syempre, I understand the apprehension or the move of the Salesians at the time, no? Kasi syempre, in effect, parang, kung ako yun, di ba? Teritoryo ko to, tapos napasukan ako ng ibang lahi, di ba? So parang, ano na ako nito, di ba? Parang it's an insult for me na, ano ba ang ginagawa ko at bakit napasukan ako ng ibang sekta, no? So, that's something, no? But then again, these are things na hindi makontrol eh, no? So, yung mga bagay na hindi makontrol. And ngayon na nga, may law na about inclusion, no? So, yeah. Okay? Reducing the barriers to learning, reducing the barriers to learning and participation, not only those with impairments or those who are categorized as having special educational needs. No? Sabi nga natin, yung having educational needs, no? Hindi lang siya limited sa mental or physical disability. No? So marami pang bagay of diversity or special educational needs, no? Pumapasok, no? Sa aspeto na yan. So we're accepting, no, dapat. Okay? So yan. That's inclusion in education. Okay? Learning from attempts to overcome barriers to the access and participation of particular students to make changes for the benefit of students more widely. So learning from attempts. So inclusion in education involves learning from attempts to overcome barriers to the access and participation of particular students to make changes for the benefit of the students more widely. Okay, so kumbaga yung wala kang no? Wala kang restrictions. Okay? Wala kang restrictions. Okay, kailan sinasabi yan? Okay? Sir, usapang relihiyon na ito, di ba? Usapang pananampalataya na ito. Di ba? Tinanggap ko naman eh. And so therefore, okay, and so therefore, I am practicing inclusive education. Pero syempre, di ba? It is our moral responsibility, okay, to educate, okay, to propagate the faith. Okay. Those are questions that we should overcome, no? In order for the participation or to access, no? To access, tawag ito? To access participation of students, no? Wait lang. Okay, so sorry about that. Saan ba ako? Share my screen again. Okay, so inclusion in education involves viewing the differences between students as resources to support learning rather than problems to be overcome. So again, no? So kumbaga, hindi problema yung disability o yung difference ng estudyante, no? Okay, hindi sila dapat tinitingnan na problema, okay? Tinitingnan sila na dapat na kailangan bigyan ng suporta, okay? Yeah, for you to be inclusive in education. Acknowledging the rights of students to an education in their locality. Okay? It's a Catholic school, okay? May right ang school, okay, to promote their faith, pero may right din ang tinanggap mong estudyante about their faith. Okay? So, anong matimbang? Okay? Anong mas matimbang? Ano ang practices or policies or yung school ba ng Don Bosco ay sumusunod ba, no? O yung policy ba ng school, no, regarding that? Is that inclusive, okay, in education? Improving schools for staff as well as for students. So improving schools, by schools meaning yung facilities itself, no? Yung structure ng school, lalong-lalo na if you're accepting people with physical challenges. Okay? So, yeah. Guys, by the way, I am not saying na mali yung ginagawa ng Don Bosco. No? Okay? I'm not saying na mali yung ginagawa ng Don Bosco. Kaya nga pag-aaralan, no? Kasi na-raise niya yung issue na yan, no? Na-raise niya yung issue na yan na may mga estudyante na hindi naman Catholic pero pinagsisimba nila. Or may term pa akong nabasa na pinipilit magsimba, no? Okay? O pinipilit mag-catechism, no? So, yun nga yung dapat pag-aralan. Yun yung dapat tingnan, no, in this particular subject about inclusive education. Fostering mutuality, sustaining relationships between schools and communities. Okay? So, maganda ba yung relationship ng school, okay, doon sa kanyang community, regardless of religious affiliation, regardless of economic situation noong nasa paligid niya, no? Kasi parang pangit ang isang eskwelahan na, kumbaga, syempre, private ka kunyari, no? Ganda-ganda ng school mo, pero nasa paligid mo, di ba, parang, ano no? Yun din yung issue ni Pope Francis na napanood ko, no? Doon sa, I don't know kung napanood niyo yung, yung two popes, no? Ang sinasabi niya na nagde-debate sila nagde-debate sila ni Pope Benedict at that time, no? Kasi nga, ang stand that time ni Bishop pa siya, no? Yun nga, no? Parang how can the church now live in this situation na hindi naman siya responding doon sa sitwasyon nung kanyang nasasakupan, no? So, parang ganun din. Parang ganun yung sinasabi ni Pope Francis, no? Actually, I love Pope Francis, no? Yung kanyang pananaw, no, sa buhay, no? First time kong narinig sa isang pope na nagsabi na, kasi nauso baga yung, at the time, ano pa rin, no? Yung debate about, yung same-sex marriages, no? Parang, ang sabi ni Pope Francis noon, sabi niya, parang, basta yung last, ano ba sabi niya nun? Kumbaga parang sinasabi niya, who am I to judge, no? Sinasabi, hindi niya sinasabi na tama yung same-sex marriage. Pero ang sinasabi niya is, who am I to judge those people, no? So, pero kumbaga, tinitingnan niya na maging open daw yung pananaw ng mga tao, no? Pero hindi man ibig sabihin na pabor siya, no? Pabor siya dun sa same-sex marriages. Pero yun din ang sinasabi ng inclusion in education. It has to foster, okay? It has to foster an environment or a mutually sustaining relationship between the school and its community. Okay? So, wait lang. So, yeah, no? Now, the other one, okay, the other point of inclusive education, okay, is recognizing that inclusion in education is one aspect of inclusion in society. Okay? So, yung sa education, okay, isang aspeto lang yan. Okay? Ng inclusion. Okay? Yan dito napapasok yung mga nasa industries, no? Na kayo rin nasa industries or na may balak, no? Magano sa industries, no? Dapat you should also practice inclusion, no, in education. And syempre dapat as early as now, pina-practice niyo na rin yan or dapat open or bukas din yung mga pananaw ninyo when it comes to diversity. Okay? So, ayan. So, go through this. Wait lang. Tingnan natin kung makikita natin ang malaki-lakihan. Dimension, creating inclusive education. So, yun. Ano daw ba yung ibig sabihin, no? Building community, everyone is made to, wait, where's my glasses? Sorry. Okay, everyone is made to feel love. Okay. Students can help each other, staff collaboration, so go through this. Okay, self-explanatory yan. Policies, okay, developing the school for all, staff appointments and promotions are fair. Hindi pwedeng, pila yan. Hindi yan pwedeng magturo. Colorblind yan. Bakla yan. Hindi yan pwede sa automotive or sa electronic. Okay? Hindi yan pwede sa college. Bakla puro mga lalaki lang sa college. Hindi yan pwede sa high school. Hindi. Pwede pala yan sa high school. Kasi mga bakla lang sa high school. Ito lang. Okay? So, hindi, no? Parang gano'n, no? So, Yung appointment for all. Ay, nako, tanda na yan. Hindi na yan pwedeng magturo. Okay? Hindi pa naman siya retirable age. Okay? So, policies should be fair for all. All new staff are helped to settle into the school. Yeah, self-explanatory. Anyway, organizing support for diversity or forms of support. So go through it. Practice it. Okay? Teaching is planned with the learning of all students in mind. No? Here you can check their learning outcomes or yung mga plans, ngayari sa high school, no? Yung mga plans nila, no? Yung learning plans nila. Or dun sa amin kasi, no? Sa syllabus namin, na may nakalagay kaming na tawag nito na kumbaga parang may policies doon na kumbaga kahit pilay ka or kung ano ka pa man, no? May nakalagay doon. No? Yung sa Don Bosco ba, meron ba? No? Tingnan nyo. Kung masabi yung sagot, yung tinatanong natin sagot kanina na is the school following inclusive education. No? Students are actively involving in their own learning, okay? Lessons development. So, kumbaga, itong sa orchestrating learning, no? Basically, ito yung paano ba magturo ang estudyante. Ang teacher, no? Paano ba ang pag-promote ng principal or ng dean, no? Sa pagtuturo ng isang teacher, no? Kung are they practicing inclusion, no? In education. Okay? So, yan, no? So, tinitingnan, basically, makikita niyo yan doon sa syllabus or lesson plan ng mga teachers. Or in the case of an industry, no? Doon ba sa manual nila, no? Sa trainer's manual, may pagka-inclusive inclusive education ba, no? Okay? So, yan. Mobilizing resources, no? Yung pag-mobilize ba ng resources, fair for all, no? Hindi yung katulad sa amin, no? Online teaching, no? So, ibig paano yung walang mga cellphone? Okay? So, hindi na sila makakapatan, hindi na sila makapag-aral. Hindi naman. So, we provide an alternative. Okay? E paano yung malalayo? Wala silang pamasahe, wala silang pera. We provide a ways so that they can get their modules. We adjust. Okay? We mobilize the resources. Hindi yung estudyante yung mag-a-adjust. Again, sir, binibaby nyo naman na yata masyado yung mga estudyante niya. Well, in a sense, yes. No? Kasi kung tutingnan ninyo, lalo na kung may capability din naman sila, no? Lalo na ngayon dito, sabi, pwede nang lumabas sa mga bata, no? Na age 15 and above, no? Yung mga estudyante naman namin, mga nasa, mga nasa teenage na older teenagers na, no? Yung iba, 21 na nga o 20 na nga, di ba? O iba, 19 na, no? So, pwede na silang lumabas. Kaya, sir, wala pa masahe. So, paano yan? Ito, ganyan yan. No? Dami lang problema. No? But then again, kung titingnan mo, kung may face-to-face, mas malaki pa ang gastos nila, di ba? Pamasahe nila, boarding house nila, pagkain nila, etc. No? Eh kung naman lang ba pumunta sila sa internet shop or pumunta sila sa school once a week para kunin yung modules, no? Pero hindi di ba? Hindi namin nilalagay yun doon. Kami na ang nagpupunta. Dahil ako naman, personally, opinion ko lang naman yan. So, yan. Okay, konti na lang, guys. Based on your assessment, okay, in your school, is your school ready to implement inclusion in education? So, yan. Ways to move forward. Tatanungin niyo yung sarili niyo, no? Ways to move forward. Okay? Social benefits. Given na yan, no? I think yung social benefits na yung tawag nito, yung pag-increase ng self-esteem ng isang tao, no? Importante sa tao na kumpleto yung paniniwala niya sa sarili niya, no? pwede paniniwala sa'yo, maiwasan yung mga taong inggitera, maiwasan yung krimen, yung pagnanakaw, no? Yung, yung pag-iisip ng kung ano-ano na lang, topic sa patalim, no? Kasi confident ka no? Tinanggap ka ng eskwelahan mo na ganito, na ganyan, no? So, confident ka. Hindi ba yung tao na kapit na lang sa patalim. Kasi kailangan ko ng pera, kaya ako nagawa ito, mga tipong ganyan. Kailangan ko ma-promote, kaya pumayag ako. Okay? Okay. Okay. So basically, another model. Bakit daw inverted triangle? No? Bakit daw inverted triangle? At ang nasa taas, no? Yung triangle is social access, no? Physical access, access to learning or the curriculum, no? Mas heavy yung attitude nung, di ba sabi natin kanina, no? Support ng peers, parents, and community. Okay? Which is very important, no? Now, yung physical access, yung infrastructure, no, yung building, no, although kaya sa second, no, although kung papansinin nyo, medyo mas malaki yung space niya, no? Kasi syempre, kung talaga nga na pilay ka nga, no, tapos talagang lubak-lubak yung madaraanan mo, o wala ka man lang wheelchair o talagang hindi ka makamove or something. No? So. And then the access to learning, no? Siyempre, konti lang naman ang this is for a particular group, which is the school, no? Ng mga tao. So, kaya sa inverted. Okay? Pero it balances things, no? Kung titingnan ninyo, kaya sa inverted triangle, no? Hindi siya nag-gaganong-ganon. It balance. No? It should be a balanced inverted triangle. So, we believe challenges, no, social benefits, challenges is inclusion may result in overcrowding and lowering of quality of education. I don't know with overcrowding, no, but with lowering quality of quality of education, no, again, no, that's debatable. Kaya nga dito papasok yung passion nyo for teaching, no? Kasi mag-a-adjust kayo no? Kayo yung gagawa ng paraan. Kayo si Maria, okay? At tinuturuan nyo at ina-accept nyo yung kaklase mo na pilay, okay, na nasa wheelchair. So in terms of quality, kayo yung magde-determine kung quality ba yung pinoprovide nyo o hindi. Okay? So, for me, that's debatable. Yung inclusion may result to overcrowding, situational, no? Economic benefits leads to higher participation rate, cohort survival or completion rate. No? There is higher simple and functional literacy rate. There is higher employment participation rate, di ba? Kasi feeling na lang welcome sila. Ako at my age, to be honest with you, I'm already 50 years old. No? Somehow, I'm a bit apprehensive no, in moving or in nung bata pa ako, 2 years tumatagal ako sa isang institution, lalo na pag ayaw ko, di ba? 2 years, 3 years, no? Pero ngayon, bago ako mag-resign, bago ako lumipat, bago ako bumalik sa Manila, iniisip ko muna. Kasi I'm already 50 years old. Kahit anong sabihin ninyo, meron pa rin bias, no? Meron pa rin bias sa society na kapag may edad ka na, okay, medyo hindi ka na kinoconsider for employment. Okay. So, yeah. Anyway, there's higher, okay. Enable children to become independent and productive in later years. No? So I think, no, you boost the morale of a person regardless of their diversity, okay? And so therefore, they become productive and independent. Okay? Wait lang, ha? Sorry. Inclusion education entails additional resources over and above those provided to regular schools. Paano ko explain ito? Panoorin niyo na lang yung short film na, panoorin niyo lang ulit, no? Kung it would provide additional resources. O baka naman ang kailangan lang ay, di ba? Again, no? Kailangan lang ay imagination. Okay? Per pupil cost is relatively higher than regular pupils. Bagay, no? Kung nyari, ang pupil nga, o estudyante nga naman, no? Tinuturuan mo, colorblind, di ba? At gusto niya pumasok doon. Siyempre, kailangan mo mag-provide ng glasses na that could determine. Siyempre, medyo mas mataas nga yung budget doon, di ba? Pero hindi naman lahat colorblind, di ba? Anong mas matimbang, di ba? Yung maging ma-increase mo yung ano niya, maging productive siya, magkaroon siya ng self-confidence, or magtipid ka dun sa isang salamin na yun. So, proposed initiatives and recommendations. So, kanina pa natin nakikita si Quijano. Si Quijano kasi is a very well-known person, okay, here in the Philippines, who is really an advocate of special education. So therefore, nag-master siya about special education. He came up with a school for special education and proponent siya, no? Ng special education dito sa Philippines. Ensuring education through earlier learning intervention. Capability building for teachers of diverse learners at pre-service levels. Kayo yun. Okay, kaya nga kailangan nyo itong subject na to. Kasi dapat kayo, capable kayo to recognize diversity. Okay, and so therefore, when you recognize diversity, you should, or there is acceptance and love, no, for these people with diverse, or people, no, in diversity. Okay, and so able to come up with a service. Okay, able to come up with a kumbaga yan, kung yung training niyo, or yung work niyo, in your profession, whether it's in the academe or in the training industry, no, for you to be able to tolerant and accepting of people with differences, no? Kaya yan. So yun yung mga initiatives at recommendation ni Quijano. Kaya meron tayong subject na ganito. Okay. So what does nature tell us about diversity and equality? Yan. Okay. Although yan. On that note, guys, pag-isipan nyo to. I hope you watch this, okay, prior to Saturday. And I hope you take down notes, okay? And I'll be expecting questions, no, on Saturday. Thank you very much, guys, and have a great weekend. Bye.